Okay, we're live. We've got Claire again, our secular Quranist. I'm a Muslim, and we, on this show, this weekly Sunday night show, we talk about practical solutions to problems of white Westerners mainly, even though neither of us are particularly white. Um, but
But we
I come
care
from...
about them.
Sorry? But
But we care
because we
about
care about
them.
them. Exactly, that's right, yeah. And also because I think I understand the problems of my white friends, or, yeah, because I grew up in London. I've been, you know, the neighbors I've had who are white really liked me and for the things I used to do for the community and stuff. So I think I have an idea. So that's my background. I'm a special kind of Muslim, an Ahmadi Muslim, who believe in love for all, hatred for none. So I think that says a lot of things by itself. Claire, do you want to say something, one or two things about you and secular Quranism before we get started on talking about this really interesting stuff by Jimmy Carr about how to live life?
I'm a political theorist and I've come up with a legal system of secular Quranism which is Sharia for non Muslims. Not everyone approves of it.
Sure, great, yeah. Good ideas aren't popular in the beginning, so cool. Let's play this video because I like to just get into things. I'll play it through once, and then we'll discuss it, and then I'm gonna backtrack, and because he makes so many really interesting points. Let's go for it.
You can't have an easy life in a great character. Show me a trust fund kid that inherited a bunch of money, and I'll show you someone mentally tortured. Having stuff isn't fun. Getting stuff is fun, right? It's not the pursuit of happiness. It's the happiness of the pursuit, right? It's that thing, and it's not like, the self-help. It's not the journey, it's the destination. It's not either the journey or the destination. It's who you become on the journey. And here's the terrible thing about life. It's self-assignment. I don't think you get self-esteem from the six-pack you get at the gym. I think you get self-esteem from being the kind of person that goes to the gym every day. And you get kind of better at it. The weight doesn't get lighter, your back gets stronger. It's the hero's journey. And you're on a journey to do something, to become something, right? And what are you doing here? What's your role in the world? You can't...
Cool. I'm gonna give my 30-second point of view on it. Firstly, what he's saying is very Islamic. Islam says basically life is a journey, an infinite journey towards God. So there's a verse of the Quran that says both great, powerful people and ordinary people, whichever category you fit into, they're being created to worship. That's a loose translation. The actual word is ibadah, and ibadah essentially means like oneness with God, and that's an infinite journey because God is infinitely, great and stuff. So we do that by becoming more kind, more godly, and I think most people understand what godly means, I think. So, and we know that's true, that is our purpose and what makes us happy and what really life is about, because when we practice that, you just feel better, and you feel more at ease, you feel less frustrated, you feel less enslaved by false gods of becoming just famous and just becoming richer and all these kind of things. And many psychologists have supported this idea of, essentially, Viktor Frankl says, have meaning in your life. And I would say by becoming something more beautiful, your life becomes more meaningful. So those are my thoughts quickly. And we could go into more depth on that. But Claire, what are your initial thoughts about what Jimmy Carr has said here?
Well, before I ever heard of Jimmy Carr, my definition of happiness is getting what you want. But he extends the definition by saying, well, if you enjoy the process of getting what you want, you'll be even happier when you get what you want. And I wish to extend that definition by saying, even if you don't get what you want, you might enjoy the personal development and personal growth when you realize that what you want is not meant to be, or is not good for you, or you didn't really want it anyway.
That's so true. As we grow, we find out more about ourselves and what we really want. And I find that all the time. I think family has become more important to me as I've grown up. Before achieving goals, even though they were supposed to be good goals, I thought, oh, I must achieve this for the sake of humanity. But then I realized actually I don't really need to actually achieve anything. Maybe you probably disagree, Claire. You kind of find you've probably noticed that about me. I'm not really concerned about views and stuff, but at least as long as I try. Um, so yeah, I think it's really powerful what he's saying. It's not. You said that it's about possibly getting things as well on the side, but more and more we realize that things aren't so important. I don't want to say having things that is pointless. You need food. Um, like I've just had a second wife, and people might think the only reason is more sex or something. Um, I don't think that's it. Like, if I wanted, I could have sex with prostitutes and stuff like that. But that's not it. And really, nothing works in my experience until it's aligned with this one thing that Jimmy Carr is saying. Nothing makes me happy in the long term until it's aligned with this becoming something better. And that what Jimmy Carr, he's an atheist, I think. He has to be a bit vague about it, but for me, it's more precise, and that is being slowly more and more at one with God. And it might sound all airy fairy, but that's what works for so many people. And the more you listen to self-help guides, you'll find out that's essentially what a lot of people are saying. Like, what is it that you should become? You know, like you say you say a lot of messages to white supremacists that they need a very definite religion, not just be better or something vague. Buddhism doesn't work because it's too vague as well. So anyway, those are my additional thoughts. Um, oh yeah, I said I was going to backtrack and go through one idea at a time. So let's like one idea. Let's
Can't have an easy life and a great character.
Okay, that's it. Or let's go a bit more actually, because he gives.
Show me a trust fund kid that inherited a bunch of money, and I'll show you someone mentally tortured.
Okay. Do you agree with that? What do you think, Claire?
I'm not a trust fund kid, but I imagine even the spoilt brats of wealthy parents often wonder if what their life would have been like if they didn't have wealthy parents, and wonder what their level would have been, and how well they would do in life. I guess if
You
they're
haven't seen any
introspective.
examples? I've seen too many examples, even within my own kids. If I give them a smartphone, sometimes I have to take the smartphone back because I could see they were getting spoiled. They were getting stuck in their own rooms and becoming weak. I think this is so important for the modern West. There's so many weak people. Okay, they're people who are just not becoming proper adults. You know, they're not taking on an adult is somebody. I've been watching so many cool videos as a rabbi. I should forward it to you. He said the difference between a child and an adult is a child always takes, but an adult is when he gives. He should learn the idea of responsibility and giving. And I don't think there's so many people who are just not. They're biologically adults, but they're not adults by that useful a definition. And I say useful, a definition that actually makes you happy. You can't be somebody, a trust fund child or whatever it is, and you just keep taking, you will not be happy. I see that in my life, my kids, my younger brothers maybe, who got more money and I grew up slightly poorer before my dad got richer. I can see endless examples all over the West of people becoming really weak. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that what he's saying is so true. Do you remember the famous saying that goes something like tough times? How does it go?
Create good
Tough men
yes,
Tough
or good
men,
men, and good men.
good
No, no,
men.
good,
Yeah.
good men create good times. Good times create bad men. Bad men create tough times. Tough
Yeah, I
times
think it's
create
bad
strong
and weak.
men. Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, something like that. So it's a very hard thing to escape from. Like it's really hard to raise tough children in a wealthy household. I mean, I've taught a lot of rich, really rich kids as well. Yeah. Some like the original people who, you know, the original families of Dubai and lots of places, lots of really rich kids. It's really hard for them to be useful. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. People just want more than what they have, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a good illustration. So, if you're just trying to avoid being eaten, you'll be happy to find shelter. Once you've found shelter, you want something to eat. When you found something to eat, you want, and so it goes on until, oh, I want to live forever. And, and, and
Yeah,
that is
you can have
basically,
endless needs. Yeah, like
yes.
Disney and stuff. Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess even the rich kid, the spoilt rich kid, needs to feel that they are as good as their parents or better. And they also need a sense of achievement, or they'll feel that they are inferior to their parents and wonder, what their lives would have been like if they had not been so fortunate.
I
And
mean, it,
maybe.
being more better than your parents is not a bad thing. I think the problem is our nature is to try to feel comfortable. And that sounds reasonable, but I think it's really dangerous. Like, if you, as soon as you go down the path of I want to be comfortable, then you make your kids comfortable and you make your kids weak. People would disagree with that, but I think it's really dangerous to be comfortable.
Complacency. Is that what you mean? You become
I
complacent?
do think, okay, people might think I mean complacency. I mean comfortable. I mean that you should constantly do things you're not sure about or I feel there's some risk associated with it. There's many reasons for that. First of all, if you don't have any risk in your life, there's no adventure. You might think, yeah, your life's going to be cool, but risk is when you don't know the outcome of something. If you know, let's say you're watching a story and you know every step that's going to happen. You're watching a movie, you know everything's going to happen. It's not a cool movie, right? There's no adventure of watching the movie, right?
No suspense.
No suspense. And if that was your life, there cannot be any adventure, right? So that's one side. But you, bec- you become weak because I'm trying to think of another cool thing. The guy from last time we quoted was it like a Jimmy Rohn or some Ron or something. He goes, anything you don't use, you lose. That includes like if you don't use faith, you lose faith. If you don't use courage, you lose courage. I think that was so true. There's so many cool videos I've been watching. I mean, I think it's some of this stuff is obvious for me, but I think some of these other people I'm quoting are like explaining it in nice, simple, rhyming ways that people might realize. I don't know, but it's really obvious to me, and maybe it's not. Do you feel like you disagree that comfort is dangerous?
Well, I would agree that we shouldn't be complacent. I would also agree that we should be pushing the boundaries. And these days, with so much censorship, speaking the truth as we see it is pushing the boundary. And more people should say what they believe to be the truth and be prepared to defend their positions.
Okay, you have a child, but a grown-up child, right? Do you do you want do you try to make everything perfect in her life, or do you push her? It's a girl, right? You have a daughter. Okay. Do you try to make her life easy, or do you try to push her into difficult situations?
I don't particularly, you know, do that. You know, adult children have a mind of their own,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's particularly wise to push female offspring into doing risky things. Maybe if
Okay.
there's a male, if you have a son who's a bit of a layabout and doesn't like going out much and doesn't like trying much, you might push him a bit.
Okay,
But
I'll give you an example of what I've done with my daughter. Just one example. I put one of my daughters in a normal Arabic, like a non-private school, and now now she's like that was out of her comfort zone. Like she now she has to learn everything in Arabic, and now I think she's becoming a better person, because in the private school they didn't really have high moral standards. They were all spoiled. A lot of them were spoiled. There were many good things about it as well. Like I like Arab culture generally. People are not scared of. They leave their bags around with the belief that nobody's going to steal their stuff. There was loads of good stuff as well, but they also had lots of bad behaviors because of being spoiled, because of being rich. So yeah, that's an example of something that I would do with even my girls. Not like skydiving necessarily, it's just kind of like practical day to day stuff, a little bit difficult stuff.
yes, I suppose children being what they are, they could blame me for ruining their lives by not sending them to the school that they want. So I
Mm.
suppose in that way you are kind of, pushing the boundaries.
Mm.
But
Cool.
in terms of other people who may not have children, I mean, what can they do? I mean, they can push their own boundaries by, um,
Well,
I
the
think you.
reason this is okay. Sorry, I keep interrupting. The reason most people don't have kids is they're scared of what might go wrong, and yeah, I think that's part of the weakness in modern people. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
so they want to stay in their own comfort zones,
Yeah.
and also with a very feminized culture, men are not particularly encouraged to strike out on their own or even admit the gender differences. It pays for a woman to play it safe. But for men to play it safe, they will be despised by women. Particularly if a
Yeah.
woman feels more adventurous than the man, she will despise
Mm.
him.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly. Men are so feminized that they're not brave, and so they don't lead. They're scared of not being accepted by you know women or
by
something. And that's
women,
not
I mean,
really nice.
so in a way, it's sort of women are going to shun you if you say the wrong thing because their feelings are more sensitive, but they also want men to show a bit of um, masculine courage and a bit of spine. So
Mm.
you could say that women are they don't know what they want, but basically they want a man to admire, and if they see that the men around them are just as risk averse, and even more frightened of saying what they mean than the women themselves are, they will despise the men.
Yeah. I think also women are not made to say what they want. Okay, let me explain this. I saw another video by this rabbi who said the masculine trait is to lead and start a thing, and women continue it. You can think of like having children, for example. You know, a masculine thing for a man is to initiate sex. Women don't really initiate sex, and then a woman would carry on that thing by giving birth to a child, etc. So it's that kind of idea. I think that's a very old traditional idea of like yeah, and so women won't say they won't even necessarily feel immediately that they want a leader, but when they see a leader and who commits to staying a leader, even if the woman tells a man, "Oh, I don't like you for saying," but they deep down like that. And maybe for men committed to being leaders, and also filtering out all the people all the women who don't like leaders, they're already messed up. So just leave them alone anyway, filter them out. Um, So yeah, men need to stand up and be real men, be leaders and stuff like that. And only then can they
Fulfill
guide
their
their children.
potential
Yeah,
and do
fulfill
what
their
they're
own
supposed to do as
potential,
men,
yeah,
and not
fulfill,
think and talk and behave like women, making
yes,
them despicable and disgusting to their own women who won't
yeah,
marry them, and and then they complain that they can't get, they're all incels.
yeah,
Because I mean, the women actually they don't know what they want. I mean, I'm just vocalizing what I think is happening. That
yeah.
the women don't quite know what they want, but they just find the men so despicably cowardly and risk averse.
Yeah, I
Uh,
totally. So I think we're in agreement. Women don't tend to know what they want. I think that's why profit in religious kind of areas, it's prophets are always men. Maybe it sounds really bad and sexist, but we love being sexist here, right? Um, Men are
Actually, the
designed
Jews
for
have a
leading.
few female
Sorry,
prophets. Jews have female prophets. Just to point that out.
do they? I
Yes,
don't think so.
Deborah and somebody else. I think only two
Okay,
or
I'll
three.
check if that's a prophet or just a wife of a prophet. Or Deborah, really?
Deborah, she was a judge. Female
Prophet?
female prophets of the Old Testament of
I'll
the
check that
Bible.
out. Interesting. I have my doubts because I think Judaism is
Miriam,
hot.
Deborah, Holder, whoever that is.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I'll check that out. Deborah and Miriam and whoever. Okay. But anyway, I think that would you agree that the the religious idea now, at least amongst the monotheistic Abrahamic faiths, is I don't know about Christianity. It's so confusing Christianity. But let's say Judaism and Islam, at least the ones that stuck to the values. Um, Men are leaders. Would you agree with that? Men are supposed to be within their families, at least.
Well, they have to be because
Yeah.
there needs to be a final authority in any group.
Yes.
So even if there doesn't all these men who like to play football, there will be a captain of the team.
Yeah. Or CEO of a company. You can't have 10 CEOs or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that the lack of leadership and masculinity doesn't allow people to be courageous or courage to be kind of taught in families and stuff like that. So
Well,
I'm
it
trying to
also
back.
prevents problems from being solved. Because
Yeah,
it's like if there's no leader, if there's no official leader, who do you go to when there's a problem?
yeah,
And
yeah,
and you talk to some of them and they say, well, we don't want a leader because but they're saying we don't really want to be put to the trouble of following a leader, and also if you're a leader, you're going to be targeted, so we'd rather not,
yeah,
and these reasons are despicable and cowardly and effeminate.
yeah,
But there we are.
yeah. I heard another person say an interesting point that men don't know how to be leaders because they've been raised by women because of all the divorces.
Yeah, they,
Especially,
they were
what was a black
raised by
man
their
saying?
unmarried mothers,
Yeah,
and
and
they
I was
go to
like,
their co-ed schools where they are manipulated by their teachers and their
sure, yeah,
female
there's
students.
that, but we've got to blame ourselves in. So if we're talking about black families in the West, they've got a massive high, dad's not sticking around, and therefore um, women end up raising men, and men aren't going to know how to be men. So just to kind of backtrack, what we're talking about is this guy
And
is
I'll show
saying,
you someone mentally tortured. Having stuff isn't fun.
oh no, what was he talking about? About rewind to right, but it's about basically, was he talking about being courageous or being tough? I think he's talking about being tough, and you can't be tough. You can't be tough if you don't have direction and courage
Or
and stuff like that.
principles. They don't have
Yeah,
principles. They don't
yeah,
even have the principle of, speaking the truth or exercising logic. So how are they going to solve their problems if they deny the truth and refuse to, follow the logic of, their beliefs or arguments?
Yeah. He mentioned another point actually. He thinks if your life is too easy, you'll be mentally tortured. I've seen that. That's really interesting. Have you watched Gladiator?
Yes, I did. On
Okay, do
Boxing
you know?
Day. You watched it too, didn't you?
No, I'm out of City, but they played it again, did they? No, the original Gladiator, the first Gladiator. You're talking about the first Gladiator, yeah?
With Russell Crowe?
Yeah, Russell Crowe one.
Yes, that one. Yes,
Yeah.
I did watch it on
Okay.
Boxing
So,
Day.
and then, do you remember the son emperor becomes the emperor by killing his dad?
Commodus, yes.
Yes, and he says life's a nightmare. He's constantly tortured, needs to take drugs and stuff like that. And I think that's very accurate of rich people because they're so weak. They become weakened by never having to struggle in the first place. That yeah, they can't. Life is too difficult for them. They've never grown a thick skin or anything like that. I was watching another video that I've just uploaded about the root cause of cancer. It's when one of the theories, explained in that video by the fourth Khalifa, is that modern medicines um, don't they fight they directly attack the disease without enabling the body to participate. So he described it like if there was a child, and every time the child faced a problem, you'd pick up the child and put it in the right place, put it out of harm's way. The child never develops enough to be able to do it for themselves. Actually, that's been known that if you don't leave a child to have accidents, they don't learn to become nimble enough or react to deal with things themselves. Mm-hmm. So I suppose the point is that, I agree with Jimmy Carr is my point, that if you are a trust fund child or even further down the ranks of, I don't know, mollycoddled, you become really weak. And it's really hard not to have weak children. I think so. I'm going to be a bit cheeky. Am I going to be cheeky? Yeah. So the guy who was in the show last week, his family are quite well off. I'm staying at his house. I think and they're scared of crossing the road because they're always within the gated house. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're really good kids, but it's really easy to become too soft. That's what I see. I see that all the time everywhere. Mm-hmm. So what's your opinion? Do you agree that money makes you weak?
Well, yes, it's almost a kind of natural cycle. In that, yes, you may achieve success, but your offspring will be terrible. They'll be spoilt, they'll be entitled, and unless you somehow make them not entitled, not spoilt, you're going to eventually lose all you acquired. Your land, your property, your status, because your children will disgrace you because you didn't give them the moral education you should have given them because you were a bad parent. I'm not saying you personally, obviously, but I'm just, yeah.
The stuff makes you weak, isn't it? I think part of moral education is not giving your kids stuff.
But also to give them stuff, such as a good education. But then you sometimes you may be tortured, like, well, which school should I send my kid to? The one that she doesn't want to go to, or the one that, well, you don't know, because,
I'm going to say some
that you
stuff
ruin their lives.
Yeah, so like the guy over here, one thing he's done, he sent his kids out of a private school and to this other school. And I said, what to the kids? Like, do you miss your private school? He said, yeah, we used to have double the holidays and we used to get caned less. They still cane, even though it's illegal in Ghana, but they cane people here. We got caned less. Even if we were naughty, sometimes we would not get caned in the private school. But now we get caned for being naughty. Like, I thought that's great. get caned. Sound harsh, right? What do you think?
Well, I mean, if it's a punishment, then I guess it should be meted out, because it's the
Yeah.
whole point of, meaning what you say and saying what you mean and
Hmm.
carrying out threats, so people don't think they can get away with it.
Cool.
Because
Let's get on to the next point. You made too many interesting points. Let's go.
Your money, and I'll show you someone mentally tortured. Having stuff isn't fun. Getting stuff is fun.
I think he makes a follow-up point with this thing.
Right? It's not the pursuit of happiness. It's the happiness of the pursuit.
So that's pretty confusing as well. The pursuit, the happiness of the pursuit. Okay, so two sort of ways of explaining the same thing. It's not about having stuff. It's about getting stuff. Would you agree? I agree.
well, sometimes people have said that the anticipation of something was actually better than actually getting it.
Sure. But a lot of
So,
people say, "Oh, I'm going to be rich if I had millions of pounds." I'm sorry, I'll be happy if I had millions of pounds. What would be your counter argument, or do you disagree?
well, rich people have their own problems. So, I mean, the general idea that you should enjoy what each day as it comes is probably the safest if you want to have the most enjoyment. That you try to learn something every day, and even the things that annoy you, maybe it's going to be useful later.
If what annoys you, sorry?
There's a verse in the Quran that says what you dislike may be good for you.
Yes. Is that about wives, right? Or
Well, I think it's also about things like homework maybe, and
yeah,
doing the
yeah,
things you
that's
don't
true.
want to do.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Um. So what's my experience? So let me think. So we're talking about um. Does so? Yeah. We've already gone through this thing of like having like okay, I should be clear. I'm still trying to become a billionaire, but I'm actually scared of the effect it will have on my kids to the extent I'm planning on it's just a rough idea. I wouldn't tell them if you could I mean this sounds really stupid, but it's just a rough idea. I wouldn't want them to know if I was really rich. And I would give them lots of stuff. I would never take them on a first class flight, for example, and maybe once, maybe or something, just to experience it or something. But I wouldn't. I think that's the kind of thing that makes people really weak.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and essentially, I try to reinvest it and keep using it in different things. The only good thing about it is to give kids opportunities, but they didn't need too many opportunities because some of the too many opportunities you don't need to infinite number of opportunities. They just need the ability to have a laptop, the internet, and work hard. If you give them too many things, they become really weak. So yeah, um, yeah. So those are my thoughts. Does that sound really harsh?
No, because I mean, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't be telling people in a hurry.
Hmm. Well, why not? Well, no. Let's say your family. Would you tell your family that you won the
No,
lottery? You got.
I'd just be, suddenly unexpectedly generous, but I wouldn't say it's because I won the
Hmm.
lottery. And
Yeah.
possibly to avoid, people right, sending me begging letters and asking me for loans, because that would still be annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I think just people asking you for loans, they're just not going to be able to pay them back, and they won't pay it back because they say, "What difference does it make to you?" And it's not really about the money; it's about them becoming just more useless people. Um, but maybe invest in them, possibly if they got good ideas. But there's a good chance they won't have good ideas. Um, okay, so he said it's not the pursuit of happiness that you should have. It's what did he say? It's the
The happiness
happiness
of
of
the
pursuit.
pursuit.
Yes. So I think that's true at a biological level because we have something called dopamine. dopamine is mostly to do with achieving or working towards a higher goal. We're designed for that, and you'll find. I've watched another really interesting Jordan Peterson video, and this who's a psychologist if you don't know. He said, and I think this explains the sense of anticlimax when you achieve a goal, and that is like when you achieve a goal, your body has to shut down the dopamine or the energy drive of achieving that goal, which makes sense, right? You've got this drive, and your chemicals are saying, yes, keep going, keep going, keep going. When you achieve that goal, your body has to tell that system to shut down. If that system is shutting down, that's giving you the high that you've had for the last 20 years trying to achieve a goal, then a lot of that excitement is going to be shut down, and that's what happens. And people have an anticlimax feeling. And unless you have a higher goal, that's going to be really crap. It's going to be a really crap feeling. I would even put that down to the experience of sex, right? Um, you find, and can tell me your opinion, if you're having sex just for the sake of sex, it will feel a bit empty afterwards. I don't know as a woman how it feels, right? And he's like, oh, why did I have sex with that person? But if you are aiming to have children, then it's the beginning of something else. It's not the end, just to have sex. And also, if you're trying to, if you see that, if you see sex as a bonding activity with a person that you're continue a journey with, which is what sex is actually designed for. You have all these chemicals to help you bond. Then it's better, and there isn't such an anticlimax. There's only anticlimax, I think, to the extent that you're focusing on just the pleasure of the success. So what do you think? What's the question, I guess? Do you agree with that idea of like sex, even sex is anticlimactic if that's all you're looking at in your relationship with a person?
Um,
Is that a weird
I
question?
would say, I mean, I would equate sex with, eating. You seem to be saying that you could have sex without particularly wanting it, and it could be like eating
No,
without being
I think if you
hungry.
just want sex for sex sake, then it's anticlimactic. But I think if you're having sex with somebody you want to have children with, and you've got further goals beyond the sex, then it's not as anticlimactic. In fact, it's better in some ways because there's post-sex stuff like cuddling and
Oh,
stuff.
right, because every time you have sex, you're moving closer to them or closer to your goal of conceiving, etc.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if you're going, well, it depends on what your goal is,
yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm saying. If you've got a deeper goal than just having sex with somebody, then it's great. But I think if you are just having sex for sex sake, like you're just having lots of one night stands, for example, that is going to be anticlimactic. So, what's his name? Russell Brand. Do you know that he got the prize for having the most sex with as many number of people before he changed? This is when he was a drug addict. He described. So he won that prize according to his Sun newspaper 2 years in a row or something. So he described having sex with so many people as eating ash. So he didn't think of, I'm sure he didn't think of that before he had sex with a particular individual. But he'd do it, he'd be excited about it, of, conquering another person, as it were. And then he'd be like, oh, what was that? And the Quran talks about this kind of chasing the mirage verse. Do you know about that one?
I'm not familiar with that one.
But okay, what do you think about this claim? Because this is about what Jimmy Carr is saying. He's saying it's not the pursuit of happiness, which an example of that would be pursuing sex, is one of the things in the West we chase, right? But it's the happiness of the pursuit. So I suppose there's a limit to the depth of what he's saying. I'm saying there should be a pursuit, a deeper pursuit beyond sex, which makes the whole, so you don't suffer from anticlimax. So I suppose my question to you is, okay, simply put, do you agree with my idea of success? That success, sorry, do you agree with my idea of sex, that sex with on one night stands will be anticlimactic? Or not?
Yeah,
Or do you
yeah.
think it can be
It's
great?
obviously not a good idea for either men or women to have a series of them,
So it's
because
not good at a societal level, but on a personal enjoyment level, do you think maybe you've experienced something like this? I don't know. Um, do you think it's
I'm afraid I never
anticlimactic?
made a virtue of having a series of one night stands in the hope of feeling
Sure,
better.
sure. But let's say you did, or you don't have to admit to it or something, but like, do you experience, have you ever experienced crap
Well, I
sex?
mean, it's different for girls anyway. It's like, you know, I think that men have to go look for it, and for women, they just have to lower their standards, and boom,
Do
you're
you really
there.
think it's different? Either way, you look, men have to hunt for it, and okay, men come to women, fine, either way. But a one night stand is a one night stand. Okay. Um, I would say any, like, I'm as a Muslim, you're not supposed to admit to all your bad stuff because God covers up stuff, right? But let's say my mistakes. There is crap sex when there is not enough of meaning. You're not having sex with a good person. Let's say you find out the person is not good, and you're still having sex with them. Yeah, I think it's crap sex.
Yes, so you feel maybe a certain degree of self-loathing. Did I have to do that? I'm not, happy that I did it. I think men and women can have that feeling when, the opportunity was there. They took it without thinking too much about it, and they regret it later. Both men and women do. Thinking I wish I
And they
hadn't
regret
done
it
that.
because we've got a conscience that we can't escape from. It's not because you're religious. You can be non-religious. There was a great video. Who's that person? Somebody. She's trying to break a record for sex with as many people as possible in one day, like 1,000 people. Do you know that person?
I forget her name now, but I was aware of her
Yeah,
quest.
right. And Candace Owens, like a Christian, black Christian lady, she's against it. And they did it. They just they had the cameras after her practice trial run with 100 men. And they said, "How did it go?" And she just started crying. The person who was doing this thing, right? And then afterwards, she does an interview and pretending that it has no effect, and this is just what she likes to do. But the point is that it does screw you up, even if you pretend to yourself that it won't. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think we're all built deep down the same way. We have the same fitra, natural disposition according to the Quran about who we are. We're supposed to be good and kind and united and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, so I agree with Jimmy Carr on this idea that it's a pursuit, it's a happiness of the pursuit, but you have to know what the pursuit is, and the pursuit has to be something deeply meaningful. Otherwise, as the Quran describes, there's a great verse of the Quran about chasing the disbelievers. Their lives are like chasing a mirage. And a mirage, for people who don't know, is an illusion that disappears once you achieve it, which is perfect description of what we're talking about. It's like it's not just about achieving things, but you can enjoy achieving your goals if they're linked to God, which is an infinite journey beyond that limited goal at that time. So I don't know. Does that? I don't know. Do you think? Okay, let me ask you one more question before we move on that verse of the Quran. Do you think the life of disbelievers, people who don't believe in God, is like that of chasing a mirage, essentially empty goals that lead to anticlimax when achieved. But religious people, they set goals which are just stops on the way to something greater, and therefore they don't suffer that anticlimax in achieving whatever goals it is, not just sex.
Um,
Is that a
I
hard
see it really.
question?
It's quite a long question. So you're saying atheists have a feeling of anticlimax, but I
Yeah,
suppose the
constant
average atheist
anticlimax with their crap goals, half short-sighted, short-term goals.
of never refusing opportunities for sex.
Sex, vacuous things like, oh, I'm going to be the best footballer in the world or something like that. Like, there's loads of famous athletes who feel crap at the end of achieving, you know, Mark Phelps, was it something Phelps or whatever? He's famously depressed, especially even after getting his gold medals. Because they're
Yes, I
vacuous.
mean sport is so boring, and sportsmen very
Hmm.
boring. Um, but I suppose the average atheist who does think about these things, um, I don't know, do they all die depressed and feeling they haven't achieved anything? Because I think what they look down their noses on at religious people is to say, I'm having so much fun. Look at all the sex I'm having. And you, sad religious people, you're just going to die and not enjoy all these opportunities to have sex. You're such
This
a
that's
bunch of
so wrong on so
saddos.
many levels. Because that's what people this is what I like these discussions about, because there's a surface level of what people think is happening with people who have had lots of sex. But I given the example Russell Brand, who said it wasn't as great as it looks like on the surface, and that's what we have to get past, because people get sucked into what things look like on the surface, and then they pursue the same thing, and because they haven't done their research, they end up living crap lives. So these sports stars who are having sex with lots of people, I don't think it works out very well. They're not happy because of it. I mean, do you disagree? Do you think they're all that they lose their conscience and somehow they do enjoy having sex with lots of people?
Well, it makes me think of people who think, oh, I shouldn't have had that extra cream cake. Oh dear. I just couldn't say no, because it was being offered to me. I had to take it, but it was too much, and I didn't even want it, and now I'm feeling a bit queasy. Maybe it's that
Mm,
kind of thing.
I don't
And
know. I
maybe
think
a
it's.
bit of self loathing, like, oh, I didn't even
I
want
don't
it anyway,
know.
so why did I say yes?
I mean, I could link it to a little bit of that. I would. So the Islamic point of view on, let's say, the cream cake situation is twofold, and you basically accept it for two reasons. First of all, the Islamic situation, and it's all important. If you do things in the direction of God, it will feel good. The queasiness and everything doesn't exist unless you do it away from God. So, if somebody offers you something as a present, they're demonstrating love, and that's therefore you should accept it. There's a hadith, the saying of Prophet Muhammad, that you should accept presents. That's one thing, and also I think in the Quran or Hadith, you're supposed to do eating together binds hearts. There's another reason to accept. So, but generally, also, so I would accept the cream cake, but also I fast twice a week. You see, so I've got my rules. So it's not about the cream cake by itself. And the fasting is spiritual as well as healthy. But anyway, let's move on. We've only got 10 minutes left, and let's see what we think.
Right? It's that thing, and it's not like, the self-help, it's not the journey, it's the destination. It's not either the journey or the destination. It's who you become on the journey. And here's the terrible thing about life.
Wow, that is just the main point. It's not the journey or the destination. It's who you become. That's so epic for me, because that's exactly what the Quran teaches essentially. Um, life is about becoming at one with God, which is an infinite journey, which sounds really terrible, but maybe these kind of atheists, whatever, all these people who kind of figuring things out from scratch, they might say in a more cool, well, maybe currently appealing way or something. I'm not sure how much people would understand that or believe that. That is who you become. I'm going to try to convince people for a few seconds, like it's who you become. So I watched a video recently that said life begins at 40. So I'm 44. And I do feel that and the video said also that up to 40, everything's just practice. And I do get that sense that I was more stressed and whatever up to 40 because even though I had many of the same values of serving people, I'd had it a slight different angle. It'd be like, oh, I have to serve people, but I have to get the accolades of million views and all these kind of things. Now I just achieve lots of really cool things without the false or vacuous metrics or views and stuff. Because quite frankly, most of the traffic um, on the internet, a quarter of all traffic on the internet is, do you know what?
What?
Porn, right? So that would tell you views as a metric by itself is not a solid or useful metric. It could be possibly, but really, views by themselves are not really the best metric if porn is one of the most popular or most viewed things on the internet. So anyway, I think I've become a person over the years that I'm more comfortable with and makes me a happier person constantly. And there's not a thing, it's not the things that I'm achieving, it's the person I'm becoming that makes you happier and more content. And it just sits so well with me what he's saying. It's so true. It's the person you become. It's so beautiful. It's like
What were you
the
before?
what was I before? It's a good question. I was trying to. So people were more. I would have more clashes with people because I was frustrated with people not standing by the truth. And I'd have clashes with people because I was trying to achieve big goals and they would get in the way of achieving those big goals because essentially you can't really control the world, but you can just try your best. But generally, trying your best over a period of time, it does achieve things, but not necessarily exactly how you want it to. So, yeah, I was a more frustrated person. People liked me less. I mean, I don't care so much even now that people like me more or less, but I think people like me more now because I'm not pushing the same way to achieve the goals. I'm simply doing whatever I can every day. And I'm happier with that. Maybe it's not convincing for other people, but yeah. Um, okay, what's your opinion?
On,
Is it
on what?
okay?
Sorry.
What's your opinion on what Jimmy Carr says? It's not the pursuit of happiness. Oh, sorry. It's not the journey. Um, it's not the goal. It's not the journey. But it's who you become.
Yes, and a lot of people don't really know who they are or what they want to do. And even if they want to do it, they don't know if they'll be successful. So you could say that life is an ongoing struggle to fulfill our potential after discovering what it might be.
Yeah,
And we
I
should have fun.
go on. Sorry.
And we should have fun in this quest.
Yeah, I think you touched on something interesting just a few seconds ago. Like, you go, I s- basically, people are really lost, aren't they? That's why we do these videos. Like you get really frustrated how lost people are, and I think the less lost you feel, the more peace you would feel. And that would be in line with what Jimmy Carr is saying. It's what you become, becoming a less lost or confused person. That's great by itself. If that means becoming something, becoming a person, becoming a person you like. What do you think about that?
Well, I think people feel lost because I think they're more or less convinced that they made the wrong choice because there was such an abundance of choice that they have more or less convinced themselves that they made the wrong choice, and then they think, oh, it's too late now to correct my mistakes, and that's why
Mm.
they get so depressed. I think that's a reason.
Oh, okay. You touched on something else that he's going to say about mistakes. Well, he didn't say mistakes, but he talks about the hero's journey. So I'll play that in a second. But I suppose before I forget it, there's a beautiful verse of the Quran about. It depends how you translate it, but essentially, verse chapter 3, verse 71 for most people. People number things differently. He will set right your actions for you and forgive your sins. So it's like if you go into the Arabic, as far as I understand, it's about flipping your mistakes into good things, and you see that in normal life, right? Islam is not about not making mistakes. It's actually you should make mistakes. It's normal part of life, but some people learn from it. When they learn from more than not making mistakes. Does that sound stupid? But I think you've got to sometimes get things wrong to really go right, and you can like way more than overcompensate for your mistakes by making the mistakes. So God can do that for you. So, yeah, what do you think?
Yes, I think you were talking earlier about children falling over and parents allowing them to fall over, so they would wish themselves to avoid falling over.
Yeah, and the reason why the mistakes thing is really a really important thing about this hero's journey that he's about to play is that I don't know if you watch movies much or Superman type movies, but if there's a character that doesn't, there's no character development, as it were, like he's perfect right from the beginning. That's not a real hero. That's not a hero that we can um, connect with. Like something that's really heroic, as I think Rocky 3 or something. It's about said since Sylvester Stallone says in some modern version of Rocky. It's about getting hit and getting up again, getting knocked
Hmm.
down again and again, and coming back up. That's a hero, and that's what God describes as success. Not being perfect, but despite being imperfect, trying again and again. That's powerful. Let me play this bit of video, and then tell me what you think about how much is life about having this heroic journey. Let me just play it.
Hmm.
Life, it's self-assignment. I don't think you get self-esteem from the six-pack you get at the gym. I think you get self-esteem from being the kind of person that goes to the gym every day, and you get kind of better at it. The weight doesn't get lighter, your back gets stronger. It's the hero's journey, and you're on a journey to do something, to become something, right? And what are you doing here? What's your role in the world? You can't have an easy life and a great character.
So deep. What's your role in the world? It's the hero's journey, finding yourself, who you are, achieving something. Wow. I don't want to add much more to that, so I'll let you have the last say. What are your thoughts about this? Is life about a heroic journey?
Well, it's about overcoming obstacles and fulfilling our potential and achieving our ambition. So it's
Mm.
important to set goals. And I guess the problem is a lot of people don't set goals that are, are good for themselves.
Mm.
If you gave a good example earlier about this woman who was trying to, how many people was she trying, how many men was she trying to have sex with
She's
in
trying to
one
have sex
day?
with 1,000 people, but her trial run was 100.
I wonder what her poor mother was thinking all
Apparently,
this
her
time.
mother's helping her
Really?
organize everything.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess her mother was a porn actress, was she?
Um, Candace Owen just felt sorry for her in the interview. She said, like, you feel sad? You don't really have a real mother. She had pretty tough things to say to this particular lady. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope people. I think this is there's some epic truths in what Jimmy Carr has said. Some people might say, "Oh, he's just a comedian," but actually, comedians have especially high IQs because it's not just about saying random funny things, but it's about analyzing society at a deep level and saying something that other people can't say. That's what makes something really funny, isn't it? Um, yeah.
Yes,
So some
I mean,
epic.
philosophically, he's
Yeah.
saying, what goals should we have? And I guess if you believe in God, it's like, well, avoid going to hell. And if you don't believe in God, you'd have, slightly different.
No,
I
I don't
guess
think he's saying that. I think even though so he's got his limits as an atheist, but he's not saying just don't go to hell. It's
no,
about
no. I'm saying a,
achieving.
a religious person would say, I wouldn't
No,
want to go to
I
the
wouldn't
better
say a religious
place.
person says that either. So a religious person is not just trying to escape hell. He's trying the real thing that he's trying to achieve is
It's
some
potential.
potential, some beauty, like oneness with God, and that means sacrificing your own needs for a greater good, like a real hero does. It's not heroic just to be all powerful and not feel any pain. It's epic when Superman is goes to the dark side a little bit, and also because he's not accepted or treated well, and he also gets beaten up a few times. That's really real heroism. Then he gets back up. Um, and I think what Jimmy Carr is saying is not just escaping some sort of punishment, but just doing something great with your life, if I'm
Hmm.
summarizing. Yeah, cool. Anyway, thank you very much as always, Claire. I hope viewers benefited in some way. I'm happy if one human being benefits or changes their life one little bit, that's good enough for me. And thank you very much, Claire, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.